Speaking today, we have Staff Superintendent Lauren Pogue of Detective Operations, and she is joined by Inspector Richard Harris of our Hold-Up Squad and Inspector Shannon Dawson of 32 Division, and they will be announcing the results of Project Taurus. Two minutes. One minute. Thirty seconds. Ten. 5. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Staff Superintendent Lauren Pogue of Detective Operations is joined by Inspector Richard Harris from our Hold-Up Squad and Inspector Shannon Dawson of 32 Division. They will announce the results of Project Taurus. Staff Superintendent?
Thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. Over the last several months, the City of Toronto has experienced a surge in auto thefts. These incidents have numbered in the hundreds, and those responsible have used a variety of tactics to steal almost every type of vehicle, regardless of security features. We have seen warm-up thefts in the winter months, vehicles taken after security fobs were cloned from inside of homes, and in some cases, like in this project, violent carjackings that used weapons and physical force to separate victims from their vehicles. Even though there has been a wide variety in these occurrences, a few things have remained constant. Those involved have operated across borders, not just divisional borders in the City of Toronto, but across GTA borders, and in many cases, provincial, national, and international borders. Those involved also tend to operate in a highly sophisticated way. While in this case, there are no distinct ties to gang activity, that is local, it is clear that the group were part of a complex organization. These two common factors have meant that we as a police service must adjust our enforcement response. For the Toronto Police Service, Chief Raymer has already committed to the recreation of a major projects team. The Organized Crime Investigative Support Team will focus on organized criminal activity that does not fall within other unit mandates. This unit will be one of the areas the Toronto Police Service will focus our reprioritization of resources pending the approval of our 2022 budget. The new team will allow for a service-wide focus on major crime activity, which includes auto thefts, where the investigative capacity exceeds the resources of a local division. As Inspector Harris of the Hold-Up Squad will explain, we have worked very closely with other police services on this case. We will continue to join together to share resources and intelligence in an effort to combat this multi-jurisdictional criminal activity. I want to take this opportunity to thank the York Regional Police, the Laval Police Service in Quebec, and Canada Border Services for their assistance during Project Taurus. On behalf of Toronto Police Service Detective Operations, I also want to take the time to thank our frontline policing partners at the divisional level. Auto thefts affect victims in a very traumatic way. Whether the suspects use physical force or not, the vulnerability that someone feels after having their vehicle stolen right from the security of their garage or driveway cannot be understated. I am pleased that Inspector Shannon Dawson from 32 Division joins us today. She will reiterate the impact this case has had on local residents and what everyone can do to protect themselves. Finally, I want to acknowledge Councillor Mike Cole. As many will remember, Councillor Cole has consistently called for government support from all levels, and we appreciate his support. I'd like to turn it now over to Inspector Harris from Hold Up Squad, who will provide an overview of Project Taurus.
Thank you, Staff Pogue. Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to give you an overview of Project Taurus, which was, as mentioned, was an investigation handled by the Hold Up Squad in collaboration with several other units that I'm going to mention shortly. Members of the Toronto Police Service Hold Up Squad have been investigating a series of carjacking incidents taking place both in Toronto and in York Region. This was an 8-month investigation which was dubbed Project Taurus that began in May of 2021. These incidents, whereby the suspects targeted high-end vehicles, primarily took place in the city of Toronto, but more specifically along the Yonge Street corridor between Sheppard Avenue and Finch Avenue in Toronto. The investigation revealed that a somewhat sophisticated group of individuals targeted high-end motor vehicles, which included Lamborghinis, McLarens, Rolls-Royce, Bentleys, Porsche, and Mercedes-Benz models. These were destined for out-of-province locations and also overseas. The motive, we've determined, was obviously for profit. The Hold Up's investigative team that was assigned to this project worked relentlessly and closely alongside in partnership with the York Regional Police Service, Hold Up Squad, and their Auto Squad, the Canada Border Services Agency, Laval Police Service, and our own Toronto Police Service Mobile Support Services, Intelligence Services, the Gun and Gang Task Force, the Central North Major Crime Units out of 32 Division and 43 Division. This investigation, we could attribute 28 carjacking incidents, we believe, at the hand of this group of individuals that were arrested. 19 of the vehicles that were stolen have been recovered, and the investigation continues to determine the whereabouts of the 9 remaining vehicles. The crew would utilize various techniques during the commission of these robberies, including distraction methods, such as intentional vehicle contact with unsuspecting victims. And on occasion, the suspects would also swarm unsuspecting victims as they exited or entered their vehicles. And shortly, you're going to see some footage of some of the robbery incidents that are part of this investigation. The weapons used during these robberies included the use of handguns, knives, and on occasion, a taser would be used as well. Often, though, the victims were physically removed from the vehicle and the keys they had were taken from them. Suspects would leave in the stolen auto and be followed in tandem with another suspect vehicle. Shortly after the vehicles were taken, they were taken to locations where GPS capability was disabled from the vehicles. And the investigation also revealed the vehicles were next sent east of the city with the intention of being shipped overseas. With the assistance of GPS technology and our partners from the Canada Border Service Agency, many of the vehicles were recovered a short time after being stolen. 2 of the vehicles of interest were found off the coast of Italy in Malta. 3 of them were found at a port in Montreal and 1 in a Halifax port, and those vehicles were destined for the United Arab Emirates. During the early morning hours of January 7th, 2022, at approximately 2:30 a.m., the victim in this incident was operating a red Lamborghini in the area of Yonge and Finch and had just parked his vehicle. 2 male suspects had their identities concealed, approached him. 1 brandished a knife, and it was determined that they exited a vehicle that was being driven by a 3rd suspect. Demands were made for the victim's keys and cell phone. The victim complied at that time, and the suspect stole his Lamborghini and fled the area. That suspect vehicle that I mentioned that was in tandem with him also fled with him as well. And you're probably going to see some footage of that shortly as well. It was I'm very thankful that the members of 32 Division were able to track the stolen vehicle and using GPS technology, follow the vehicle into York Region. With great assistance from our York Regional Police Service friends, with the use of their helicopter, they were able to provide air support, locate the suspect vehicle, the stolen vehicle, and began conducting surveillance. Once the Lamborghini reached the area of Jane Street and Western Road, it was abandoned, and that's footage of the vehicle being abandoned, as you see right there. The now accused, apparently due to his, we believe he abandoned that because of the large police presence that was in the area at the time. He exited the vehicle quickly and entered into a suspect vehicle, which drove to the area of Anson Drive and Torbram Road in the city of Mississauga. With the assistance of uniformed members in the Toronto Police Service Emergency Task Force, 4 accused were taken into custody. Another person was arrested during subsequent search warrants that were executed. And I can also mention that 2 other individuals were arrested in the earlier stages of this investigation. Collectively, they face over 40 charges in relation to Project Taurus, and we expect further charges to be laid as the investigation evolves. We've also identified one other person that we will be seeking assistance from the public in locating Mr. Trey Seaton, S-E-A-T-O-N, 20 years, of Toronto, for his involvement in this investigation, and anticipate that he also will be charged with counts of robbery in relation to Project Taurus. I'd also like to reiterate the comments made by Staff Pogue. We couldn't have done this investigation without the help of other police services. Likewise, the success of Project Taurus is really a result of the collaborative efforts amongst divisional police, detective operations, specialized units such as our emergency task force. And now I'm going to turn it over to Inspector Dawson to provide comment on the impact of Project Taurus and 32 Division.
Thank you, Inspector Harris. On behalf of Superintendent Bott, the Unit Commander of Central North District, I am pleased to join my colleagues to speak about this impressive 8-month investigation. Carjackings and thefts of vehicles have victimized numerous residents in 32 Division, leaving them feeling vulnerable. As mentioned, victims of these carjackings had their cars forcibly taken from them, many at their homes in 32 Division, and in some cases, victims were followed from their homes and attacked elsewhere. Our investigators received valuable information from victims, including security camera footage and descriptions which helped further our investigation. Home security camera systems are a useful deterrent and mechanism to collect evidence. There are also other crime prevention techniques that can reduce the opportunities for carjackings and car thefts to occur. Some strategies to reduce carjackings are to be aware of your surroundings when walking to and from your vehicle. Approach your vehicle with your key in hand and ready to enter. Make efforts to park in well-lit and well-populated areas, and lock your doors when driving. It's important to be vigilant when driving late at night or in the early morning hours, as the majority of carjackings do occur during this time frame. When it comes to reducing theft of vehicles, it's important not to leave vehicles running, whether that's to warm them up or for deliveries. Always lock your car and your garage, and when possible, block in higher-end vehicles with other vehicles. The use of anti-theft devices, such as a steering wheel lock, cannot be underestimated. I have watched video where would-be suspects have walked away from vehicles after having seen such devices. All Toronto Police Service divisions have a crime prevention officer who is able to speak to members of the community and provide advice on the best way that they can target harden their vehicle or their home. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the officers of Central North District who worked tirelessly with members of the Hold Up Squad to support this investigation. Their commitment to the local community resulted in the return of many stolen vehicles. I would also like to thank Inspector Harris and members of the Hold Up Squad. 32 Division is grateful for the time and effort they devoted to this investigation.
Thank you. We will take questions now. When you are called on, please unmute your mic at this time only. Please indicate who your question is for. Staff Superintendent Lauren Pogue, or Inspector Richard Harris, and/or Inspector Shannon Dawson. You can ask one question and one follow-up. When you've asked your question, you will be muted again. Thank you. We will begin with Scott Lightfoot, CTV. Go ahead with one question and one follow-up.
Thanks. Question for Inspector Harris. I think off the top that it was mentioned that there are no distinct ties to gang activity locally, but how do you allege this operation works? There must be some sort of network behind this in terms of moving these vehicles once they're stolen. So, I mean, who's involved and how does this sort of work?
There's definitely some level of sophistication, as I mentioned earlier. I got to be mindful that this is still before the courts, but I can tell you that there was a level of sophistication, and this group did not operate alone in a silo. There was some sort of connections to the east of Toronto and Montreal as well, and yeah, this group, there's a larger part to this group of individuals. However, I can't comment on that as a matter before the courts.
Fair. And if I can ask the staff superintendent, off the beginning you sort of mentioned the victims of these crimes, and quite often people have these cars stolen out of their driveways when they're not even aware of it. There's concern among some people who've had their vehicles stolen, not necessarily in the armed robbery sense, more in the driveway theft. And even some of the car dealers have mentioned that maybe manufacturers aren't doing enough to address the issue because they know these vehicles are popular targets, they know how easily they're being stolen, but it almost works to their advantage because quite often the owner through insurance ends up buying the same vehicle again. So it's like these manufacturers are getting 2-for-1 sales. Given the fact that this is taking incredible police resources, you're mentioning starting a whole new team to deal with this sort of stuff, do police share the concern that manufacturers need to do more to make these vehicles harder to steal?
Thanks for your question. Yeah, I think we all have a part to play in this, and this is one of the reasons why we are putting together a dedicated unit. So we want to work collaboratively with all levels of government, car manufacturers, insurance companies, and our community partners as well to ensure that we do everything to safeguard our communities from ongoing thefts.
Thank you. Next, we'll take Steve Ryan from CP24. Go ahead with your one question and one follow-up. Go ahead, Steve Ryan from CP24. Just unmute yourself.
Sorry, I had a mute on. This is for the staff superintendent. Staff, how lucrative are these high-end car thefts?
I mean, I can't give a dollar value, but we have seen a very large increase from 2019 to 2021 with a 20% increase in vehicles stolen. Majority of the cars stolen are newer high-end models, Land Rovers, RX 350s, and as you heard, some of the even more luxury cars that were stolen in Project Taurus. So definitely it is a lucrative crime as well. And again, our concern for the increase is certainly allowed us to reconsider our tactics on this, and again, to devote resources to this to ensure we keep our communities safe.
Thank you for that. And this last question is for any of the three on the panel there. Carjacking, sorry, I got cut off there. Carjackings, as well know, are very, very violent. Is there any, and I know you went through a lot of to-dos with regards to preserving your car and preventing it from getting stolen. Are there ways that if you're driving a high-end car and you get bumped, and it could be a setup, is there something people can do as opposed to getting out and checking the damage of the car, yada, yada, yada? If your car is bumped intentionally, or perhaps you don't even know that, but is there a place that the other driver can go? Any of the three?
Well, unfortunately, the natural reaction would be to pull over and have a look at the damage that's caused by the intentional or unintentional contact. So we can't speak to the mindset of these unsuspecting victims as what may take place. The only advice I would say is just be aware of your surroundings, and these unfortunate things do take place, but it's, you know, it's things like this which are unpredictable, However, being mindful of your surroundings and maybe investing in some sort of security footage, which we had in this investigation, dash cams, and that sort of thing, will ensure that at least, should this take place, that a successful investigation and prosecution will follow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Catherine McDonald from Global. Go ahead with your one question and one follow-up.
Good morning. This is Catherine from Global. Just wondering, I guess this question is probably for Staff Superintendent Pogue. We've spoken to many victims of car thefts over the last few months in Toronto who say they don't feel like Toronto Police do enough because in the end, the insurance companies pay and it doesn't seem to be a priority. Maybe you can speak to this new auto theft unit, which of course was introduced during the budget meeting. Can you tell the public what kind of, how it's going to be set up, how many teams, how many officers will be dedicated to this unit should it get the funding that you've asked for?
Yes, and I can tell you, prior to dedicating resources to this team, our local divisions are doing a great deal to address the local thefts in their own divisions. What we recognized is we need a broader effort and a major projects team that can look at the city as a whole and help support our divisional partners. So the new unit will be a large team of members that will fall under our organized crime enforcement branch, and they'll work very closely aligned with our GTA partners in policing, and again, policing partners, also our provincial partners and all federal partners as well, to address this increase in crime.
And a follow-up, how many officers are going to be dedicated to that unit? Because I think that was mentioned by Chief Raymer, but I think that's really important. People I've spoken to who have been victimized feel like, the divisional investigators were not doing enough in some cases. There wasn't a priority for these calls since it really was a bit of a white-collar crime. No one was victimized in many cases, but obviously these carjackings are quite different.
It's going to be a large project team. I don't want to give exact numbers, but I can tell you that definitely that group of dedicated resources will be augmented by our divisional resources as well. We'll all be working together to address this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll take a question from JP from CBC. Go ahead with your one question and one follow-up. You can unmute yourself now. Does anyone else have any questions?
Hello, it's JP. I'm sorry, but can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, JP. Go ahead with your one question and one follow-up.
Sure. So I missed the countdown of all the people arrested. Could you please tell me how many there are, please? And how many are looked for?
Yes, so far 7 people have been arrested. We are still looking for Mr. Trey Seaton. And I can go through the charge list. Mr. Klirim Halimi, 22 years of Toronto, is now facing conspiracy to commit an indictable offense of robbery, robbery with an offensive weapon, disguised with intent, possession of property obtained by crime over, trafficking in property obtained by crime over, failure to comply with his probation. There are multiple counts of robbery and disguised with intent with his relation to this investigation, possession of property obtained by crime again, and another count of his failure to comply with his probation. His next court date is March 2nd at 1000 Finch Avenue West in courtroom 301. His brother, Adu Hurim Halimi, 20 years of Toronto, is also charged with conspiracy to commit an indictable offense of robbery, robbery with an offensive weapon, disguised with intent, trafficking in property obtained by crime over, and theft of a motor vehicle over. His next court date is also the same, March 2nd, 2022, 1000 Finch Avenue West in courtroom 301. Pitar Kunick, 20 years of Toronto, is also charged with conspiracy to commit an indictable offense of robbery, robbery with an offensive weapon, disguised with intent, possession of property obtained by crime over, trafficking in property obtained by crime over, and possession of another count of possession of property obtained by crime under 5,000. He too is scheduled to appear on March 2nd, 2022 at 1000 Finch in courtroom 301. Toma Kasha, 23 years of Toronto, is charged with conspiracy to commit indictable offense of robbery, robbery with an offensive weapon, disguised with intent, possession of property obtained by crime over, trafficking in property obtained by crime over, and also carry concealed weapon. His next court date is February the 16th, 2022 at 1000 Finch in room 301. Albin Gashi, 20 years of Toronto, charged with conspiracy to commit indictable offense of robbery, robbery with an offensive weapon, disguised with intent, possession of property obtained by crime over, and trafficking in property obtained by crime over. He's next scheduled to appear on February 16th in courtroom 301. Bradley French, 22 years of Toronto, is charged with 1 count of robbery, weapons dangerous, possession of property obtained by crime over 5,000, and he is going to be facing additional charges, and he has made arrangements through his counsel to turn himself in the near future to face those additional charges. Ricardo Luzzi, 21 years of Toronto, is also charged with robbery with a firearm, disguised with intent, property obtained by crime over, and pointing a firearm. His next court date is August 11th. And finally, Mr. Trey Seaton, 20 years of Toronto, is wanted on a warrant in the first for his arrest, and he will be charged with robbery with a firearm and disguised with intent.
Thank you, Inspector Harris. JP will also be having a news release that'll be released after this conference as usual. Do you have another
Yes,
question?
thank you. And no, I don't. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks very much. The next question we'll have from Catherine McDonald from Global. Go ahead, Catherine.
Hi there, just a follow-up. Can you just go over how many vehicles were stolen and how many were recovered again, please?
Yes, a total of 28, and 19 were recovered.
Any other questions, Catherine?
Oh, thanks.
This concludes today's conference. Thank you for joining us.